Hey everyone, and welcome. You ever stop and wonder if the life of Jesus of Nazareth came with an instruction manual? Well, today we're diving into exactly that, what you might call the cosmic rulebook, the very specific briefing given to a divine being named Christ Michael right before he began that incredible mission.
So just think about this for a second. What if that monumental life wasn't just some spontaneous event, but a meticulously planned mission with a detailed briefing and a very clear set of rules? What would even be in that rule book? Well, that's precisely what we're going to unpack, using source materials that actually lay out this cosmic briefing. All right, so the very first, and you could say the most fundamental challenge, was this incredible balancing act of cosmic proportions. Seriously, it was like walking a divine tightrope. How could an all-powerful being live a completely 100% authentic human life without ever using his own inherent power? This was the central paradox of the entire thing. To really wrap our heads around the scale of this challenge, we have to understand what a creator's son actually is. And this isn't just some fancy title, it's a job description of almost unimaginable power. The source material is crystal clear. Whatever a creator's son wills just happens. Instantly. No effort, no delay. Just poof, reality. Now imagine having that ability, and then having to consciously turn it off every single second of every single day.
This right here, this slide really frames the core conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got his inherent, inseparable power to change reality with a thought. But on the other side, you have the mission's absolute mandate: live a normal mortal life. Be guided only by the Father's will, and that divine spirit within, just like any of us have to. He had to consciously choose that human path over his own universe-altering power at every single turn.
And believe me, the stakes could not have been higher. This wasn't just a friendly suggestion, it was the absolute condition for success. According to the counsel he received, just one single conscious decision to use his own will to flex his own power outside of the Father's plan would have meant instant mission failure. The entire thing, this bestowal, as it's called, would be terminated. Done. And he'd have to start all over again. There were absolutely no second chances.
So, beyond that huge internal struggle, he was also given a set of really practical, on-the-ground rules for his life on Earth. These came from the Archangel Gabriel. You can think of them as the mission's official rules of engagement.
Gabriel's advice really boils down to this one core principle: live a completely normal human life. The focus had to be purely on spiritual and intellectual uplift, and that meant he was to strictly avoid getting tangled up in the politics or the economics of the day. But that fourth rule, that one was the most important of all.
And this is just brilliantly put. The source texts call it the prime directive, and if you're a Star Trek fan, you know exactly what that means. The absolute highest law was non-interference. He could not, under any circumstances, disrupt the natural progressive evolution of humanity. His job was to inspire us, not to intervene and fix all our problems for us. Now this next one, this might be one of the most surprising directives of the whole mission. He was explicitly told to avoid creating a single, rigid, organized religion. The whole idea was for his life and his teachings to become a shared inspiration for all religions and all people. It was about fostering a universal family. The sources are really clear that the organized church that we know today was actually a later development, not something that was part of the original mission plan. Okay, now we get to the two most specific and honestly pretty shocking prohibitions. These rules were put in place to prevent some very specific problems from popping up in the centuries after he was gone.
Yep, you heard that right. The first big mandate was to leave no writings. He was instructed not to write anything down himself on permanent materials and to tell his associates not to either. Just let that sink in for a minute. Think about the implications of that one rule.
And the second mandate is just as stunning, and it directly challenges a lot of popular modern theories. He was absolutely forbidden from having children and leaving any kind of human bloodline on this planet.
So, why? What was the logic behind these really strict mandates? Well, the ban on writings and images was all about keeping his teachings alive and growing, preventing them from becoming rigid dogma or leading to the worship of physical objects. And the rule against having children? That was even more fundamental. It's described as a top-level, universal law for beings of his kind undertaking this kind of mission on any planet.
So with all these rules and all these restrictions, you gotta ask, what was the ultimate goal? I mean, why go through all of this? Let's take a look at the grand cosmic objectives of the entire mission.
It really all boiled down to two massive things. First, the supreme spiritual purpose. to reveal the loving nature of God the Father to humanity in a way that was new and incredibly powerful. But second, there was this other, sort of cosmic legal purpose, to definitively silence the celestial critics and rebels who had accused the Creator of ruling selfishly.
And this quote, this is such a powerful look at how he accomplished that second goal. By willingly becoming what the source calls the lowest of his creation, a mortal human on a pretty troubled world, his entire life of self-forgetful service became the ultimate answer. It was a live demonstration that the universe is run not by force, but by love and loyal service.
And all of this leads to a subtle but incredibly profound distinction. He wasn't some divine being walking with a human, or some kind of split personality. No. The mission revealed him as a single, combined being, God incarnate in man, fully divine and fully human, all in one unified personality.
And that brings us to the end of this cosmic mission briefing. We've seen the immense pressure he was under, the strict non-interference policy, and those very specific rules against leaving behind writings or a bloodline. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Knowing the rules of the game he had to play, how does it change the story you thought you knew?